they just blurt out so much of their plans. And this was written 11 hours ago, and I found it, well, disturbing. I did not sleep well last night. We're going to go over this. So anyhow, we're over here at Sanhedrin of the 70 nations, and they dated this third Tishrei. And it says here, to the very honorable President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. I don't know how honorable he is, but here they are using this flattery. What does the Bible tell you about flattery? It's usually used for manipulation and witchcraft. Rebellion is as witchcraft, Samuel tells us. I think there should be a comma there, of the organization of the 70 nations, founded by, the great grandchildren of the Sanhedrin that had Jesus put to death. The budding leaves of the fig tree parable, Matthew, Luke, Mark, I believe. They're all three in there. Learn from this parable. When you see the tender branch and the leaves shooting out, no fruit of repentance. Talking about the rival kingdom. Beginning to grow up in their infancy stages. That's why it's a tender branch. Look into the Greek and everything. Know that it is coming, this false kingdom, and know that my coming is near, Jesus says. So there's a message with that. It does not mean when she's 70 years old, God is coming. It means when she is doing something that is so blatantly against the authority of Christ and trying to compete with Christ and bringing forth this whole global kingdom. Tree has to do with kingdom and a people. The time of Jacob's trouble is setting up and my coming is near. So if you have the kingdom of God within you, born again Christian, then the kingdom of God is going to come upon you, meaning glorification. And so we are still watching with a close eye, praying, seeking him, asking him, and hopeful petition to please come and get us this October 17th and 18th, because the moon is also at Virgo's feet, which matches up so well with Revelation 12. So I'm not so convinced that September 20th was the Feast of Trumpets. That's kind of what I've held to all along. So my hope is not gone at this point in terms of our potentiality of seeing the Mashiach come, the real one, the one for realsies. And being able to gaze upon his face and to look upon our rock and so on and so forth. Now, if he doesn't come this year, don't fall apart, don't freak out. He'll come exactly when he's supposed to. We are just trying to tie together scripture and the events and this year of weirdness and this deception and all of this fig tree popping off with this rival kingdom and watching. Like he says, watch. So we're going to do that. I think you have 23 days. And either he's going to come, or we're going to rule it out and we're going to start over and we're going to look for the following Feast of Trumpets and so on and so forth is how it works. And he will bring it to fruition. He says in his word that he's not going to bring the baby to the point of opening the womb and then not open it. He's promising, I will glorify the new creation in Christ. And much more could be said about that. So they continue. We marvel at the heroism, and coping with the states, nations, and organizations that have chosen to surrender to terror for so long. Now, I'm not so sure that they're talking about Islam. I think that they are actually talking about and branding in kind of this very underhanded type of way, Christianity. See, they're already together and in union with Islam. So I don't think they're talking smack about Islam. I think they're talking smack about you in this holy war, which they actually call you the children of the darkness, because they believe themselves to be the children of light, and they've minted coins. Because what better way to indelibly slap you in the face but to mint a coin to present their message to the masses? And so that's what they've done. Undermining world security. See, this is the thing that really concerns me, especially when you start getting into the language of the UN and these organizations, and you really see that they're united front is against one enemy, and that is Jesus the Christ and his people. So undermining world security, like you're a threat and we need to put you down. And it's peace by posing states and regimes which damage human rights as peacekeepers. You're just like, what? At a time when all their purposes are to exterminate the children of light, which is what they think they are, in their war with the children of darkness. That's who they're calling us. See, in Kabbalah, they have this whole loony thing with, Lucifer and the light and their Metatron and their spirits they play around with. It's false light. And they fancy themselves the children of light. And they believe that they are the light of the earth and that they can offer you salvation. But it's like a weird salvation you have to work for, and you really have to work for it. And it's not salvation at all. And in fact, even I'm pretty sure it's in Hosea where God is talking about, I'll have to look up the scripture, talking about how, she didn't bring deliverance at all. She brought forth wind. I don't know if I can find it fast enough. Wind is like nothing. This may not be in a script. No, there it is. Right there. So Isaiah 26, we were with child, we writhed in pain. We have given birth to wind. Nothing. We have brought forth, as it were, wind. Salvation, we do not work in the earth. Yeah, no kidding. You didn't get rid of the sinful nature. That's what Jesus says. Nor do the inhabitants of the world fall. And so on and so forth. But see, Christ through the new covenant in Jerusalem, who is a personification of the new covenant, this woman figure. Revelation 12, Isaiah 54, Isaiah 66. This woman figure is a personification of the covenant in Jerusalem and Christ's blood, the Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits. 50 days later, Pentecost, the covenant, where the one new mankind in Christ can be reborn spiritually, and then his soul can be fixed, and then eventually his glorified flesh will become a spiritual body, and you are born into that new flesh. It's his picture. His picture he's trying to get you to understand. He says, I will bring that into being. Just trust. I know what I'm doing, he says. Let's see if I can find that scripture really quick here. It's also Isaiah 66. Shall I bring a baby to the point of birth and not deliver? Asked the Lord. And when I bring to delivery, am I to close the womb? He says, I'm not going to leave you at sanctification. I'm going to come and get you. I'm going to glorify you. I'm going to bring this thing into completion. And Isaiah 66, I believe, is the last book of Isaiah. Anyhow. So they have this whole delusion, and I will show you their creepy coin that they have, that they've minted, calling themselves the children of light against the children of dark. And you should just understand this holy war is against you. They're terming you the children of dark. But Christ said, I am the light of the world, and anybody who is in me will not walk in darkness. Not walk in darkness. Because God is the light, God is good, and therefore, if you've been taken out of the kingdom of darkness, read Ephesians, and you're brought into the kingdom of light, you are now with God, and you have the light of God, you have the perception of God, you have the spiritual understanding of God, you have the Spirit of God within you that has quickened your spirit, brought you to reconciliation, and now you are the children of the light. What you have is a rival kingdom of big fat giant liars. And yes, they need prayer. I get that. I get that. I get that. But there are people who are destined to never repent and go to their destruction, and they just want to take everything with them. And so they are willing to counterfeit and copy the church. And that's why you have Babylon the whore versus ecclesia. You have the dark versus the light. And the dark is trying to co-opt the identity of the church and say, we're the light, we're the light. Well, the light doesn't murder, first off, and they're getting ready for this big murder fest. See, this is all about depopulation and entrapment and slavery and evil, all in the name of a false peace. You understand? So they're saying that we undermine world security and peace. Do you understand that? Like, that's how great the darkness is, that it's so threatened by the light. They won't let the light just live in peace. No, because this is about Lucifer, the liar, the thief, the murderer, the everything, right? Everything that's bad. The absence of the light is evil. And Satan won't just let Christians live in peace. So he has to stir up this big war. And you have all these people that are willing to be part of this war. And they are the children of darkness, but they are saying, no, we're the children of light. And then they mint coins, right? So let's keep going. Now remember, this is them talking to Mason Trump. So they're saying that we do human rights damage and that they're the peacemakers. Well, that's funny because Christ said that the children of light legitimately are the peacemakers. At a time when all the purposes are to exterminate. See, that's a big word there. Exterminate the children of light and their war with the children of darkness. We hold hands with you towards the success in all this. To the success in what? Your forthcoming dragon-oriented persecution that's coming. But remember, the Redeemer, the Deliverer is coming. That's why we started this with Psalm 91. Together with that, even with, now look at this. Now it just gets weird. Trickery? Peace cannot be promoted by going against the clear and simple rules of the of the Old Testament. See, they want to amputate the New Testament away. And it's really their Talmud, but they keep calling it the Old Testament, or they actually really don't even call it the Old Testament anymore. They call it the Torah. It really is the whole entire Tanakh. It's all of it. Everything from Bereshit, Genesis to Malachi is the Tanakh. And see, they normally don't call it the Old Testament. So the fact that they're calling it the Old Testament, to me, this is like kind of flashing out a thing to you, like for the people that do call it the Old Testament that we hate, because they hate Christians. Okay, there is no way of minimizing the place of holiness, the holiness of God. Well, they take the O's out for some weird reason. The holiness of the Lord, the God of, you know who, as above, so below nation, the creator of the world, and his leadership from Mount Moriah in Jerusalem, and to promote the Muslim mosque, which pretends to hold control over Solomon's holy place on the Temple Mount. This is very veiled Noahide right here, which are huge proponents of, which is why you have this whole side page of related pages. Noahide, Outreach Judaism, Institute of Noahide Code, Torah.org, The Divine Code. That book is freakadocious. J's Against Hate. Who do they say is the hate? Christians and Jesus. You have Rabbi Kessin. That's cool. The gifts are cool. I like the menorah. You're here on number 4, and there's, 5, 6, and 7 waiting to be done. Tanakh, Torah's Let's Get Biblical. Oh, this dude's freakadocious. Hope for, who, ministries, and converting to Orthodox Jewish black magic with the as above, so below, right? It's a problem when Jesus says he's God, but it's totally not a problem with all of humanity that are Jays. We say that they're God. That's not a problem. So they're talking to the president about something he's done. He's done something. He's solidified something within public discourse and communication about a veiled persecution coming is what you need to understand. And I really just want to stay on this and finish this paragraph, but I will tell you that when you go into, if I can get it to pop up here, this girl, I swear this girl is Nar. I swear she is Nar and her son. Is that Brock? I can't quite tell. Wait a minute. That does not look like Brock. That looks like Brock. Anyhow, she did almost a 3-hour video, and I'm fixing on trying to pour through this. But for the little bit that I did see, she was talking about, let's just click it really quick. Persecution. Some really weird language that was hard to decipher. And writings of Trump. See, look here. President Trump's latest actions, persecution to the church, LG, blah, 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 rainbow mafia support, UN, etc., need to know. And one of the big sticking points, they talked about was they're actually going to rewrite history. Very 1984, if you have read that book or you have seen that movie or you know the cliff notes of that. And then a couple of the comments here. Henry Kissinger is a believer in principled realism. I've never heard that before. Trump is 100% on board for the one world religion and, you know who, first Antichrist agenda. It's evil and scary what President Trump is doing. He's not in his right mind. He's a hybrid. I don't know what that means, according to them. So what do you expect? His body and mind has been taken over. Oh, do I think he's demon possessed by worshiping the devil? Yes, and he's in a position of control. So, and there's just a lot of information to plumb through. I just haven't gotten into the full 3 hours. But there is, again, it is the procurement of a holy war against you, who are really legitimately the children of light, but you are being wrapped in a wrapper of verbiage, calling you the children of darkness. So they're announcing a holy war, but very like read between the lines. Because if the church actually got it, they would be mobilizing in true power and strength, calling people into the ark of salvation through the one hope of the cross, and they would be praying, they would be assembling, they would be utilizing power. But see, they purposefully kind of keep this under wraps, and you have to kind of learn this, learn to read crazy kind of a thing. Learn the language. And so this is why we're going over this and why we're taking an hour and a half of our time to show you these things. Okay, sorry, I'm a little spazzy with the tabs because I'm tired. Okay. So then they go on. They're saying they're righteous, they have the right thing, blah blah blah. They do poke the mosque in the eye a little bit, that they don't like that on their Temple Mount, which is actually the Fortress Antonia for the 6,000 Roman guards. It's not the Temple Mount where the actual temple was. They need to be by the Gihon Springs. That's another topic for another day. They don't have the right Messiah. They don't have the right gospel. They don't have the right heart. They don't have the right spot where the temple is supposed to be. They're wrong, 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 and wrong. They don't have the right God. They don't have the right anything. This is not in accordance with the prophecy of Ezekiel, Zechariah, Zephaniah, Isaiah, Micah, Obadiah, Joel, and other prophets of Israel. Well, you don't even pay attention to what all of them are saying. If you just read the book of Isaiah with a soft heart that could be turned to repent, then you would understand that God is calling you into a new creation in Christ. But see, they don't like him, so they cut him out of everything. One cannot sow the seeds of illusion. So, again, this is a poke in the eye of Christianity. The peace process is important, even if peace is not achieved during our days and in the days of the time of the President of the United States. Whatever. And the majority of the member states in the Security Council do not agree with the policy in defending your country. You know who? And all the states threatened by the use of weaponry, be it Iran, North Korea, Russia, or European You must draw conclusions. You know, it's almost like they've written this in code or something, but if you listen to Brendan O'Connell, he shows how actually all of these different groups are all together. In fact, I'll try to find you a little clip where Seven Grains find you a little clip of Brendan. And we'll probably end with that. To create a now, see, this is what also concerned me. To do what? To create a parallel organization? Huh? What are you talking about? To create a parallel organization in accord with the Old Testament? The only theocracy that God is going to bring for realsies is through Jesus, and Jesus is good. He's not going to bring it through some evil, sinful man that is going to become a dictator to the whole world and abuse the technology and abuse through a communist global takeover. You understand? So, you know, it's almost like they're just kind of like beating around the bush, and really you can't fully understand and appreciate everything they're talking about. And they did this right in accord with what she's talking about when she goes through all these legal papers. And again, she takes 3 hours to do it. I had just chipped in and heard a little bit of the conversation, but I challenge other narcissists, and they don't like me. She's kind of an odd duck, that one. But anyhow, we have established the frame for. Oh, did I finish saying this? In accordance with the Old Testament. So they think that it is the right of the Old Testament, they ignore the New Testament, to create a parallel organization. So what have they got cooked up for enforcement is what I want to know. We've established a framework of the organization of 70 nations, and we invite all the states of the world and their people who are not under state dictatorship. It's almost like they didn't complete that thought. We call you to affiliate America. Now, see, this is weird. It's going to get really weird really quick. Affiliate America with this new organization. To manage it, and to join other nations and states to it. I think there should be a comma there. In accordance with the rules of the organizations. And you're like, what is this new creepidocious thing you want to do of control and taking us out of our sovereignty? See, this is how the global governance works. And little Trumpykins is just a puppet. So I would like to know more about this cryptic language, because you're just like getting the very outside, whatever the language is. You're not like hearing the full, like, just tell me, what are you talking about? Doesn't sound good, and it sounds like I'm guessing some type of organization to kind of force the Noahide, you know, to declare. Okay, look at this. To declare the Holy Temple as the destination of peace and allow its establishment. So they also need to procure our allegiance. To declare the Holy Temple as the destination of peace. Well, the temple is not the peace, and allow its establishment. So this also seemed like an incomplete sentence, in my opinion. To establish, now see, this is where it gets even more creepydocious. To establish an international court of law in Jerusalem in accord with the rules of the Old Testament. It's totally our right to like persecute all of you and to force you to get rid of Jesus Christ. So they're being very vocal about this. To draw all the people together with love and peace, including enemies and opposers, and to open the gates of peace. You don't know anything about the gates of peace. Kindness and righteousness and the law of the eyes of all the creatures, and promote the messianic vision as told by Isaiah and Micah. They were not talking about the Antichrist like you're talking about the Antichrist. We attach the organization's documents and excerpts as part of the world concern. And I did not find those documents, so I don't know what they're talking about, and I would like to look at those documents. Now, it gets even weirder. Pilgrimage to the courtyards of the house of the Lord Okay? In Jerusalem, God willing, shall take place on the third day of the festivity of the Feast of Sukkot, which is basically the Feast of Atonement. It's the 10th day of the Day of Awe, because there's 10 days that exist between the Feast of Trumpets, which they're saying it was September, somewhere in September, we'll say. I think the 20th. I'll have to look that up. And then 10 days elapse between the next feast day, which is the Feast of Atonement, which I don't have time to get into. So, but this is a big deal. It's like they're completely misusing God's stuff for themselves. The 5th through the 7th of October, and then with the international broadcasting that will take place at 5 p.m., you know whose time? And you're just like, wait a minute. The house of the Lord in Jerusalem? Like, what are you talking about? Now would be a good time for pictures, people. And then this. Anyone who wants to join, according to the rules of the organization, is invited to go up and pray in the house of prayer for all the peoples. Eh? And to offer a smoke offering, no thank you, on the altar via the priests and the Levites of Israel. So, like, functioning in this capacity, and to raise up his offering and pledge to promote dun, 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 the awareness of the temple all over the world. And I forget where in here, but they're it must be in another post. Oh, it is in another post. Go down. Oh, here we right here in this one. The temple of God of as above, so below is the place where true light comes from, they say. This is where the true light comes from. Jesus said, I'm the light of the world, and tear down this temple and I'll rebuild it in 3 days. They're not interested in him. So who do you think they're interested in? Right, and they announced the kingdom as well with, yet again, another World Creation Day concert. And that was on the 14th. So let's go to see these coins. So I'm not going to play all of this, but she does have a 7 Noahide laws that she did back on 2018. I don't know if she knows about the sub laws. I'm not too sure about that. But she is very well aware of the Sanhedrin court underground next to the Western Wall. Now, some people say that this is actually 2/3 of the temple that has been built, and they make a fairly good case. I just have a lot of disagreements with Leland Jones on other areas, but he does make a very interesting case, and she does a good job showing that this has already been put through law. They just snuck it in. You just don't know it. So it sounds like she did a really good presentation here. See, this is creepidocious. I've never bought one of these symbols ever. I have never ever brought that symbol into my house. Anyhow, she has a video. Let me find it for you. This actually wasn't the coin I was going to share with you. This was the Abraham Accord coin. But this is their techno kingdom here that they fit in there on one side of the coin. And this is a pretty good video. And Shaking My Head picked this up and put this in their stuff, which I liked it. So she's got some very interesting stuff. This other side of the coin too, you just cannot get past that sword of Islam that chops the head right off. And then, she kind of takes some time to go through and talk about all of these different symbols and things that are in here. And this is, the announcement of their techno kingdom. But really, I wanted to show you the other coins. Let me get to that. Okay, it took me a little while to find this. Let me blow it up a little bit here. So see, this is an announcement of the kingdom of supposed light against the sons of darkness. You might as well just say, like, we even use the word war. War of the Luciferian, Mason, Kabbalistic people against Christianity. That's honestly, you could put that and you would not be wrong at all. And that's why you have, there it is, the as above, so below. You've got the star that has often been associated with Lucifer, especially if you flip it upside down. And then you have 2 rich white dudes that are exploiting you, lying to you, and setting up the world for a spiritual theocracy from hell with the technology. There you go. And they actually believe this one's a Christian and this one is kind of a Christian, or at least friendly to Christians. But here they are announcing the kingdom again in another way and announcing their war against Christianity and memorializing it in a coin. I mean, you got to love this. And then they want the Christians to buy this coin to help support their kingdom of light and the holy temple. I just read another article. And then there's their temple. So if Leland is right and they have 2/3 of the temple and they only need the top layer part of it, I mean, that can probably get done pretty quick. And I just keep wondering about that weird creepidocious temple that they have in Brazil. Can they move that thing? I don't know. Oh, and by the way, Trump is not Cyrus. Cyrus is Cyrus. You have a lot of NAR people and men like Jonathan Cahn, C-O-N, Cahn, who want you to believe this narrative that's been constructed that Trump is Cyrus, all over again. Nowhere in Scripture does it say that's ever going to happen again. So that's all part of this Z theology, Zionism. And then the last thing that she pulls out here is, you know who has sold us out to China, which I thought was kind of a strange title, but I mean, I get why she said it. And when you understand, yeah, right there, I'll just go ahead and play this. This will be the final thing here because we're starting to get a little long. But when you understand this, you can fully understand why God has the dragon and all of its manifestation, about ready to eat the one new mankind in Christ, and why on a feast of trumpets to be fulfilled could be in 23 days. I don't know for sure. That we are glorified and changed with the Lord, who is our righteousness and our sanctification and our glorification. And we are saved from the dragon. We are not eaten by the dragon.
Well, Israel has sold us out to China. That's what this one man said. And thanks to the subscriber who sent this, it's just to understand who the enemy is. That's what we need to do today, and really realize what is at stake and who is clearly at the top of this all. So here's a few short clips, something I really thought you should hear.
China. They want to make a deal. The question is, do I want to make a deal?
Hence why Israel feeding China stolen US tech is so important. Hence why Trump just gave Microsoft Israel the Pentagon cloud security contract. Hence why so much pressure is being put on Trump to make him do Israel and Russia's bidding, not to mention China. You can always count on old friends like Bibi for support when times are tough. And if they're not tough enough, be sure Bibi will make them tougher so you remember who the boss is. Now they say King Bibi is on the way out. Well, I'll believe it when I see it, and trust me, I'll be dancing a very merry Irish jig.
You don't have to ask me twice to do a Dutch jig. But why?
Some say who cares? The rape will continue, just more gently. Well, we'll see. But I understand where you're coming from. Make no mistake, the United States is totally subverted and run by Israel and its networks out of the City of London. Totally. The Pentagon is the only government department they don't have full control over. And as we know, that may be at an end with the issuance of the Pentagon cloud contract to Israel. The US and its national security are not penetrated. It's been occupied.
Among Qualcomm, Snapdragon, get it? Dragon, Snapdragon. Among Qualcomm's great contributions to mobile technology was the development of this code division multiple access standard, which paved the way for fast 3G and 4G communications. You know who teams helped to develop the standards for those technologies, Jacob said. Qualcomm, Snapdragon, do you get it? Do you understand why God used a dragon when the serpent is who Satan has typically been identified with? But then you consider communism. They say that they're, democracy loving, but look at who they're in bed with. And then America gives her billions and billions of dollars because of some stronghold threat that you're not doing Genesis 12:3. I'll bless those who bless you. He's not talking about this modern state. He's talking about the blessing that is Christ. Abraham and the seed. The promise was to Abraham and the seed. And then everybody would be blessed by the seed.
This modern-day high-tech kibbutzim high-rise gulag system with fibre-optic 5G internet will have a whole new rule set or legislation at the local and national level that will eventually be worldwide. Communism. Oh, sorry, no. Communitarianism. I get them mixed up sometimes. I apologise. Yes, communitarianism, aka communism with flowers and a smart light bulb. And maybe a robot to talk to as you die of loneliness, childless and alone, because getting married is a construct of white privileged males, don't you know?
Forever. Oh, that'll be cool.
And where did all that come from? Boy, what a coincidence! That comes from former Israeli military intelligence special forces Gulag commander Werner Volk, aka Amitai Etzioni, a big Jewish Kabbalah fan or Jewish mysticism. Boy, another coincidence. So many. And he and the gang are hanging in Georgetown University, USA, not Tel Aviv, after all. It pays to be close to the super welfare state you and your New Age Bolshevik friends are creating. And we even have Israel's Unit 8200 pretending to be the mysterious Japanese inventor of Bitcoin and crypto. I think we all know where it came from. What joys we'll have, all on the universal wage system, aka the dole, getting therapy and communitarian law lessons from our robot butlers / kibbutzim overseers. I'm calling mine Winston, by the way. Terrorist Bolsheviks started it all back in 1917. A bunch of
Bolsheviks.
Polish and Russian communists and Marxist-Leninists who not only took over Russia and the Ukraine, they took over Palestine and have made it home base for kibbutzim number one ever since, except for those damn pesky Arabs. Along the way, they took over America and made New York Moscow on the Hudson, like they made Tel Aviv Moscow on the Mediterranean. I mean, a goodly portion of the main players, including Leon Bronstein, aka Leon Trotsky, left for the Bolshevik bloodbath in 1917 from New York. Food for thought. Benjamin Netanyahu's father, a Polish historian, real name Milikowski, was the notorious Zionist gangster Zeev Jabotinsky's personal assistant in New York in 1940. Jabotinsky, of course, was from where? Of course he was from Russia. You're getting the picture, aren't you? Nothing to see here. They're all based in New York. What's going on? Will the BBC make a documentary exploring simple facts of history and asking the right questions? The internationalist Trotskyite Bolsheviks want their worldwide kibbutz, and they want it now.
Yep.
Designed in Israel, manufactured in China. Just one big happy family.
A war against the children of supposedly darkness by the children of supposedly light. Are you getting this? This is huge.
In fact, I wonder if anyone told you about this. It's just simple history. Stringing it together isn't hard. With China and Russia being enemy number one of America and the so-called free world, it's a little strange, don't you think, that a simple Google search of Israel, China, technology appears beyond the capabilities of all the mainstream media and alt media pundits. Do you not find that almost impossible to believe? How could you miss it? And then there are the think tanks and military forums. Nothing, nada, not a peep about America's greatest ally, deep in bed with America's greatest enemies. Have you worked it out yet? Have you read the
That's weird, right? It's called a double cross.
script? Have you seen this movie before? Mark my words, this artificial little bar fight is there simply to bring on the new Cold War and the deployment of politically reliable robots, drones, and AI. The predatory banking and financial class of the Rothschild East India Trading Company cannot keep the colonial territory peasants in line with an unstable local managerial class. And Rothschild's had enough of unstable assets. Bring on the robots and the AI. That will require a scary war footing to make sure it is well funded on all sides, and then, at the appropriate time, they roll them out and go door to door. Remember, you're not going to get the designers and fabricators to do this, to commit suicide, unless you have a credible story that, China and Russia have got robots. I mean, wow, we can't be left behind. We've got to have robots and drones too. That's why there has to be a Cold War 2.0. At the same time, the insiders, the managers from all over the world, part of this trading guild, linked by ancient symbolism, handshakes and dreamy, wafty delusions of a shared, chosen DNA from ancient Egyptian alien pyramid builders. No, I am not joking. They really believe this stuff. Read Chariots of the Gods and the Old Testament and the movie Alien Covenant.
So I don't know what he's talking about, the Old Testament. I don't think that he's a Christian. I don't think he's saved. I don't think he understands about Lucifer and all that. I really don't know what he meant by read the Old Testament.
Okay, so
So that's enough of that. So do you understand the war that you are in? And they are just getting everything set up. So the Snapdragon, and if you're familiar with my channel, you know exactly where I'm going. You know where I'm going. Makes absolutely perfect sense. Why you have this big, ugly, disgusting, seven-headed global governance, satanically oriented, human, techno-supported, mystery of iniquity, kingdom from hell, Daniel 7, Daniel 2 transhumanist, psychopath, satanically sourced, beastie that is going after, not her, she's a covenant. She's not even real. She's not a real person. She's a personification. He wants what's inside that temtem right there, the new creation in Christ. But he fails because Christ glorifies us. I love how preggers she is there. And Christ is coming. So anyhow, thank you so much if you hung with me through the whole thing. I know this was a longer video, but I will continue researching and sharing with you whatever things that I find out and understand. And hold fast, children of light. Your God is coming. Thank you so much, and God bless you.